Hi, a lot of people have been using microwaves for years and you get used to a certain way of using it. But what I've done here is I've come up with 10 tips to get the best out of your microwave, or even just to make your life a little bit easier. Just before we start, I would appreciate it if you will subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just give us a quick thumbs up. What I do is I talk about household appliances. I do specialise in cordless vacuum cleaners, and there's normally a bit of tech in there as well. This list is in no particular order, but this first one is a really easy one and can be really effective. And it's to use one of these. It's a microwave cover. Essentially it's just a plastic cover. And what would you use this for? Well, first of all, it can be a real benefit when you're reheating food. So if you've had a meal that you've cooked, say the day before, you're going to reheat it. What you'll find is, first of all, if you use this and cover it, it helps to keep a lot of the steam and the moisture in, and whatever you're reheating, it can make a huge difference. It doesn't dry it out as much. The second advantage of using this is that if you're, say, reheating or heating up some liquid, then you won't get the splashes everywhere in your microwave. I'm sure we've all had the scenario where you've got for example, soup or something where it's either boiled over or it's splattered everywhere in your microwave, or baked beans. I know my kids have done that. It's a nightmare having to clean it up afterwards. So hopefully using something like this can be a real benefit. The only comment I'd make is just before you buy one, then make sure it will fit in. In this kind of microwave, where you've got a good size capacity, then it's not an issue because that will fit in no problem. On a lot of smaller microwaves, like this cheeky little sharp one, then you will find that it struggles to get in there. So that size microwave cover wouldn't be suitable for that microwave. So just make sure it fits. The second tip is to look out for these two options on your microwave, either sensor or auto. And they might differ between different brands of microwaves, but sometimes different brands call them different things. But what these will do is these will actually take the guesswork out of when you're cooking or reheating something. The first one is the sensor. Now this one is really good, and what it will do is you select what you want to cook or put in there. So you've got things like frozen meal, and what it will do is it will actually work out from that you've selected frozen meal, and it will know by the amount of steam given off as to how well it's cooking. The second option is the auto program. With these, it's not quite as advanced as the sensor, but on here you normally have quite a good range of different reheating options or cooking options. This first one is the quiche. All you need to do here is to set the weight of the product. So if it will say 300 grams and you're going to cook a quiche in here, then what it will do is it knows how long to cook for. So let's just start that. So that would know that it would need to take 7 minutes 45 seconds from what I've put in there. And that's a much better way rather than guessing. So either refer to the instructions, or like on this Panasonic microwave, you've just got a little label at the top of the door here. It just gives you an idea what you can either cook or reheat in here. For the auto sensor program, you've got the chilled meal, frozen meal, fresh vegetables, frozen vegetables, pasta and rice. Now there's a lot you can do in these, and even on the auto weight programs where you have to put the weight in, then you've got a good selection. But that's my second tip, and that can make a big difference to the quality of the meal that you're about to eat. My third tip, again, is a really simple one, and that's when you finish using it, leave the door open until it's completely dry inside. And the reason for that is if you've used the microwave and if it's got quite steamy or moist in there, then what you don't want to be doing is shutting the door straight away. You want to make sure that you leave the door open, even just give it a quick wipe out inside. You can find over a couple of years of using it, and if you don't leave the door open, then sometimes either you can start to get rusty inside, or the interior cavity can start to peel. We have found it many times. Nobody admits they do it. Of course, everyone thinks that they will leave the door open, but I know a lot of the time people will shut the door. So that's my tip number 3, just leave the door open after you finish using it. Tip number 4, if you've got some bread that's a little bit stale, or if you've got some cobs that are a little bit past the best, then you can actually revive them in the microwave. All you do is you just get some kitchen roll or kitchen towel like this, make it a little bit damp, and just wrap it around it. So you put the bread inside and cover it up, put it in the microwave on high for around 10 or possibly 15 seconds, and you will find that it can almost revive it in that short space of time. Tip number 5 is to use the correct power level on the microwave. I can almost guarantee there are a lot of you out there that just put your food in or your drink in, put it on high and then set the time. What you will find is that the high setting is only used for certain things. If you're using your microwave properly, there are actually very few times where you should use the high setting. If you're going to cook something like soup, or if you're going to heat a drink up, then that's okay using it on high. There are also certain things like vegetables or some poultry or certain types of meat where you can use it on high. And when I say the high setting, it's normally 800 watts and above. Some brands will show it differently. On the Panasonic here, it will show a high, medium, low and defrost. You've got quite a few different settings. On the Sharp, it does show it more as a percentage, so it shows it as 100% and then it works its way down. The next section will be like a medium to high setting. That's normally around 600 to 800 watts. That's ideal for things like stews. Also, if you're reheating a ready meal, then don't put it on high. It's much better to have it on a medium to high setting, as I say, around 600 to 800 watts. And the next level would be a medium setting, which is normally between 400 and 600 watts. Now, this would normally recommend to use for larger pieces of meat if you're either cooking or reheating something. And what you'll find is if you use that, if you just lower the level down as far as the wattage, it will make a huge difference to the quality of the meal. It doesn't tend to dry anything out as half as much as if you just put everything on high. Also, if you were to combine that with using the microwave cover I mentioned earlier, it will make a big difference. And then the last option is the low setting, which is normally between 100 and 400 watts, or even a defrost setting. And that's really used, I suppose, as it says, either for defrosting things like bread or certain types of meat, even softening butter. A good example of using the correct power level is when you're heating up things like porridge oats. As a family, we quite enjoy those for breakfast sometimes. We found that if you put everything on high, it will cook quicker, but you do find that they're not nice at all. Whereas if you lower it down to a medium or even a low setting, then although it will take longer to heat up, the quality of the breakfast is so much nicer. Tip number 6, when you're reheating something, spread the food out evenly. You will find that food will generally cook from the outside in. If you've got a big clump of it in the middle, then you will find that it won't heat up evenly. So if you've got something, say in a pot, then take it out of the pot and put it onto a plate ideally and spread it out, and you will find that it will reheat a lot quicker, and B, it'll heat up a lot more evenly. Now, I know sometimes it's tempting to put everything in one bowl to try and heat it up because, for example, if you've got quite a few things to do, then you want to try and get it done as quickly as possible. Now, a good tip on the way to heat this up, for example, if you've got 2 of these dishes that you wanted to heat up, rather than piling it into one, try and spread it out between the 2. And if I was using this microwave, then I'd struggle to get these both in at the same time. But what you'd do is if you put one in there to start with and get a microwavable, say a glass cup like that, something that's okay going in the microwave, and just pop it on top. You'll find that as long as it balances on there okay, then it will heat up pretty evenly between the 2. And that can make a big difference by spreading the food out between the 2 to make sure it heats up a lot more evenly. Tip number 8, if you need to reheat something in a container, make sure it's not in a square container like this. The reason for it is if you are going to reheat it, on the whole, things will start to reheat from the outside in. And if you've got corners on here, then you will find that it will reheat pretty unevenly. So you'll have to open it up and stir it several times to make sure it's properly hot. So ideally just find, like I just showed you, a round container or a dish, and you will find that it will reheat a lot more evenly than if you use a square container like this. Something else to add, if you have to use a container like this, especially if it is plastic, make sure that it is microwave safe. Not all plastic containers are, and it's not really something we tend to recommend, but some containers like this, it has got a little badge at the bottom here, and it will show you whether it's suitable to be reheated in a microwave or not. Tip number 9 is more of a cleaning tip. It's something I've used for quite a few years and it does work. If you were to get a bowl like this, Then put a small amount of water in it, normally about half a cup's worth, just tip it in there, put that in your microwave, get a lemon, cut it in half and squeeze the juice into the water, and then even just pop the 2 halves of lemon into it, put it in the microwave, put it on high for normally about 3 minutes, you don't need any more than that, and then leave it, so even when it's finished, leave it for about 5 minutes, you'll see the moisture in there, and then after about 5 or 6 minutes, take it out and then just get some kitchen roll or a cloth, give it a wipe out inside. You'd be amazed how effective that is, and it's much better to use natural cleaning solutions rather than having to buy things like chemicals and spray it on the inside. And I suppose my last tip, number 10, is don't put a lot of things in the microwave. There are a lot of foods that you shouldn't reheat in the microwave, but a lot of people do. First of all, things like potatoes. If you're going to reheat things like chips, then they're horrible when you put them in the microwave. If they're just in the microwave on their own, when you eat them, they're horrible and soggy. Things like reheating a pizza, it is horrible. It's much, much better if you can just go and pop your oven on, put it in there for about 10 minutes. The quality of it is so much nicer. Or even if you've got the option for using an oven as part of your microwave, it's so much nicer than just putting it straight in the microwave. When it comes to defrosting, things like meat joints, especially if you've got, say, frozen meat joints, it is debatable as to whether you should defrost them in the microwave. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of it. Things like rice, reheating it, again, you've got that debate as to whether it should be reheated. Some people say they definitely don't. You've got other people that are more than happy to reheat rice in a microwave, mainly because of the bacteria build up over time. That's really my last tip. Don't put everything in the microwave that you might have been doing beforehand. I hope you enjoyed this quick video on the 10 tips on getting the best out of your microwave. As mentioned earlier, I would appreciate it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just give us a quick thumbs up. What I do is always ask for comments on the video, whether you enjoyed it or whether you didn't. I'm sure there are many, many tips out there as to get the best out of your microwave. If you've got something that you use at home that I haven't mentioned today, then leave me comments because I do always appreciate the extra feedback. Thanks for watching.